Whether it's the regular season or the off-season, we have you covered as we give you the best Tennessee Titans and NFL news and insight that a fan could ask for. You're watching the Titan Upload Network. The Power Hour's on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. We have so much to talk about, guys. The 53-man roster is in the works and should be finalized by 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, but we have definitely had some shaking and moving, whether it's cuts right now, whether it's trade talk. We've got a lot to talk about, but as we've been waiting for, it is the triumphant return of the lost prodigal son. He is back. He is in the chat right now. Let's get him in. He is rested. Well, he's here. We'll just leave rested up to him. Let's give it up for Tyler Staggs. Tyler, it has been weeks, but we finally got you back on the show. It's good seeing you, man. So where you been?
Man, it is great to be back. I've missed being on here talking Titans with you and breaking everything down, but you know, I've had a good reason to be out. Wife and I just had the newest member of the family, our newborn, closing in on 3 weeks now. And little baby girl, she's doing good, but definitely, you know, you said rested at times. You know, maybe if you catch me early in the morning when I finally get my body going a little bit, but other than that, definitely a little bit tired, but all worth it. And, of course, got to give a big shout-out to my wife for holding down the fort and allowing me to, you know, hop back in here.
Of course, definitely big shout-out to Carrie. And, of course, I knew what was going on. I was just keeping it from everybody in the audience. But, of course, congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Not so much on the sleep aspect. You got a lot of catching up to do. But regardless, we'll try and get you back there. But, guys, we also are not finished. We have more joining us on the show tonight because there's so much to talk about. Joining us from Titan Bros, we have our good friend and guest, Gabriel. So, Gabriel, we're trying to get your brother Jose on. Hopefully, we can get that figured out shortly, but we're glad to have you on the show, man. Everybody's excited to get you in here and talk football.
Yeah, I thought you kicked him out. I didn't blame you at all because I am always tempted to kick him out as well. But yeah, he says he's having some Wi-Fi issues. I think there's a thunderstorm in the area where he's living. So hopefully he can get that up here soon. But definitely excited to be on the show. Appreciate you having me on. We're going to have a good old time talking some Titans.
Definitely, man. We're glad to have you on. And as we do, business here is always talking football. So before we get started, I want to make sure the audience gets a chance to know where they can find your great content at and what you're up to.
Well, you can find me on the YouTube page. It's called The Titan Bros. The reason we called it that is because I like Titans, and so does my brother, and we're brothers. So Titan Bros just made sense. So that's the cheesy name we came up with, but it's fairly memorable. So hopefully you can go over there, give me a subscribe, give us likes. We're having a little trouble getting traction, as do we all. On Twitter, you can just find me, the name. It's up there. Gabriel Pilcher. I didn't go fancy with that either, but you'll see my ugly mug and you'll see a Titan Bros banner over top. So that's how you know it's me. You can also follow Titan Bros on Instagram. Josiah, the brother who we kicked out for being too rowdy. That's where you can find him. He runs that page over there. I have a TikTok, but it's not really worth following because it's basically the same shorts I put on YouTube. I also put on the TikTok page. So that's where you can find us.
So go give his mug a click and give him some help. The Titan Bros are putting out great content. It's just not getting views, guys. So help our buddy out. We want to make sure that they get a chance to talk football with Titans fans just like you. So before we jump into it, let's get to your comments real quick. The chat is always bussing. So Mitchell, good seeing you, man. And yes, make sure you tighten up that like button and subscribe to the show tonight because we've got a lot to talk about. But I want to get to your comments before we get going. So tighten up to you, Titan. Strickland, we keep Farley and Malik, and we'll definitely get into that. James also says for a 7th round pick. I mean, like I said, we'll get into that, James. There's a lot to talk about. But, instead of waiting on that, let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. You ready to do this? We've got a lot of football to talk about. Everybody in the chat's ready to go. We ready?
We're ready.
It's Monday. We talking football here on the Power Hour on the Titan Upload Network. I'm your host, Michael Bishop. Jumping into the first segment right now.
And here's the kick.
So not even an hour passed, and the Tennessee Titans were moving, ran, put on a chef's hat, and said, "We cooking, son. Let's roll." And as it is, Malik Willis is headed to the Green Bay Packers for a 7th round pick in 2025. So let's start things out with Tyler. Tyler, the Titans found value for a player that was drafted in the 3rd round and basically really didn't even look like he had very much of a market. Your take on this, and do you think the Titans made the right move here with pulling in a 7th round pick?
So I want to start off by saying that, Malik, he's a great guy. And I do think that Malik this offseason improved like well above where he was at the past 2 years. But the Titans absolutely made the right move here, because when it comes down to it, Mason Rudolph had won the quarterback 2 spot. And when you're looking at this roster, I feel like there's so many more positions that the Titans need that extra spot that Malik Willis would have potentially taken up if he made the 53-man roster. So this move tells me they didn't expect, like, they were going to cut Malik. He wasn't going to make the initial 53. And instead of having to do that, Rand went out. And yes, even though it's a 7th rounder, it's still some value. So Rand was able to get something in return for a guy who they were probably going to cut anyway. Wish the best for Malik. Hope it works out for him. But yes, the Titans absolutely made the right move.
Now, Gabriel, let's take it to this aspect. I think Malik's in a really good position heading to Green Bay. I think Matt LaFleur is definitely going to do a really good job with him to try and match his skill set with what LaFleur is trying to accomplish as a guy that's been pretty good with quarterbacks. So what do you think Malik's ceiling will be going to Green Bay under Matt LaFleur?
I personally still don't know if he is a starting caliber NFL quarterback, but I think with the way he played in preseason, which I would give him a B+, at least B+, because he looked so much more improved than what he had been. Bo Hardegree did some good work, as did Brian Callahan. So his trajectory, it's going the right way. And they got him for this year. They also got him for next year. So they'll have 2 years to see what Matt LaFleur can do with him. I think he can be a quality backup quarterback where if he has to start in a couple games, he'll give you a competitive chance, basically. Because let's be honest, his rookie season and even his second season, he almost didn't look like he needed to be on the NFL roster. But it was nice to see what he looked like when he actually had quarterback people teaching him the quarterback position, even having plays like the quarterback draw where he ran. You know how Mike Vrabel was with him. He told him not to run him in his preseason games that don't run. But I don't understand why you want a circle into a square peg. Like, I don't understand why Vrabel didn't want him to be who he was. I understand you didn't want him to get hurt, but Malik Willis has never had injury issues. So I like the fact that Callahan let him be him, if that makes any sense. And I feel like Matt LaFleur will probably do the same thing, I would think.
And I wanted to get to this in the comments because I think this is a really good point to bring up. Now, Lou Man, definitely not a fan of the move, and that's fine. We want to get everybody's opinion on the matter. But I think this is a good point to bring up as well. The Titans play Green Bay week 3 at home. So I have to ask this question, and we'll start with you, Gabriel, and we'll finish with you, Tyler, on the same question. Do you think this was just basically a strategy move for Matt LaFleur to basically get intel on the Tennessee Titans offense to have a leg up in the competition?
I will say Matt LaFleur has a sneaky smile. He does have that little sneaky smile, so I could see him doing that. But at the same time, I also feel like they had nobody as their backup quarterback. Just absolute garbage. They probably had the worst backup quarterback situation in the entire league. So again, you get him 2 years for cheap. seems like a low risk, high reward type of deal. So I would entertain it, but I'm not going to say that's for sure why he did it.
And I'm right there with you. Like, here's the thing. It's the NFL. We've seen teams do this before, whether it's a guy that gets cut like during the season and whatever team they're playing that next week decides to go and pick them up. Like, yeah, you obviously hope to have a little strategy there and get a little inside information, but ultimately, I don't think that's what led to this move. Like, you're telling me it's not even that close to week 3 yet. Like, if it was week 2 and they were making this trade, yeah, I'd say there was probably some strategy behind it, but we haven't even started the regular season yet. And they're going and doing this. Like, obviously, Matt LaFleur sees some value in Malik, wants to add him. I am right there with Gabriel and thinking they probably didn't like what they had at their backup quarterback position. So why not take a shot on him?
And I agree with you both. I think right now Green Bay really was just not happy with their backup room with the quarterback situation. Gifford just hasn't been the guy for them to just develop into that reliable step in if they need anything, if Jordan Love goes down, if that's the situation. But I also think this is a move to me kind of just to put in your pocket for the Green Bay Packers. I think they have the opportunity to try and develop him. I think with what they had in Brian Callahan's system, Malik was doing well with, but I just think it was just going to take at least a year under that system to get comfortable with. So that being said, how do we feel right now about the Titans quarterback room right now? Do we feel that 2 is the set number, or could we potentially add somebody on the practice squad? Is there anybody that you think could be a viable guy to add to that PS spot? So Tyler, we'll start with you and finish with Gabriel on a question.
So, yeah, I think right now 2 is a good number. I mean, obviously, I do think you want to add someone to the practice squad just in case. Injuries do happen. But, as far as guys to add, I know one name that comes to mind right away. I believe the Dolphins cut Mike White. So that could be a guy that you potentially look to add, to your practice squad if he doesn't get picked up by someone else. And, there's going to be some other guys out there that you can go take a shot on, bring them in to the practice squad and just see if they can fit into this system. But, I mean, your ultimate hope is you never get down to needing that third quarterback anyway. Like, you don't want to end up to your second quarterback as is. So you really hope you don't get to that third guy. But, yeah, I think they just find a guy to place on the practice squad.
Honestly, you took the words out of my mouth. That's the same person I had in my mind was Mike White. He's a veteran guy. I think I looked him up on Wikipedia for no reason at all yesterday. I think he's 29 years old. So he's got some, experience under his belt. And he honestly had some good games with the Jets back in the day when they kept benching Zach Wilson over and over and over. So I do agree. Mike White is the same feller I was thinking about. Malik Willis, wish him well. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be missed in the fact that if you're down to your third quarterback, the season's pretty well shot unless our roster is just way better than we actually think it is already, which I like to be a positive Polly, but at the same time, if we're down to our third quarterback, you can just chalk them all up as L's, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, Mike White, we'll throw him on the practice squad. I don't want anybody on the 53. If we're going to keep a third quarterback on the 53, I'd much rather just keep Malik Willis because he already knows our scheme. He's familiar with everything. But, yeah, I say we just add a veteran to the practice squad.
So moving forward, are we going to see Malik Willis at any point for the Green Bay Packers come on the field and play any kind of snap, meaningful or non-meaningful? So Gabriel will start with you and Tyler will finish up.
I'm going to say maybe, because let's be honest, Jordan Love didn't mind lighting up the scoreboard last year. So you never know when they might get to just a big old lead in some game. They're beating some team 30 to 10. and it's the fourth quarter, they might march Malik Willis out there and let him get some more, game time reps just to see what he's like, because I really do think they see him as just a project that has all kinds of upside, which, I mean, he does. He's got a strong arm. He can throw any place in the field. He's fast. So they might just march him out there in games that's basically already over just to see what they got in him.
And I mean, seems like we're on the same wavelength, because that's pretty much where my mind goes as well. Like, if the Packers get up in a game, then and they feel like they have a comfortable lead, I could see them putting Malik out there, letting him get those game reps, just getting more game reps under his belt, giving him more chances to develop and see what they have in him as the backup. But that's about the extent of it. I think it'll be only time we would see him is if Jordan Love gets hurt, or if the Packers have a very comfortable lead and just want to give him some garbage time.
All right. And the Titans, as we've said, get a 7th-round pick for next year. And, we're already seeing some pullback from what these scouts have been doing and finding some talent in the later rounds, as we've seen with Harrell and as we've seen with Williams at this point. So let me ask you guys, with this 7th-round pick, and I know it's too early to ask about any specific player because who knows, right? But let's just go for the sake of argument. What are you going to try and shop with that 7th-round pick for? What's the position you think would be worth spending that on? So we'll start with you, Gabriel, and finish with Tyler.
That is a good question. 7th-round pick. Yeah, normally I would say they're almost throwaway picks, but the fact that James Williams and Jalen Harrell, they're looking nice. So that gets me all kinds of excited for what we might be able to do with these 7th-round picks. How about a running back? Take a flyer on a 3rd-string running back, because me personally, Chestnut's fine. He's just fine. He's just another guy, as they say. I think Haskins, he might be done. If nothing else, he's just a special teamer. If we could get a power back maybe in the 7th round for these 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations, maybe that's something you could do with the 7th-round pick, because the value of the running back position is just simply not there. So you could find you a solid running back in the 7th, I would think.
Yeah, Mike, you always come with the good questions there. I mean,
that's how I roll, baby. That's how I roll.
I've been sitting here racking my brain, and running back is a good option. I feel like even right now we know how our linebacker depth is right now, so I feel like linebacker's not a bad one as well to take a shot on a guy to add depth to that linebacker room. So yeah, I'm gonna go with linebacker.
Now let me throw a curveball at you guys. We already know that Narvi might have a chance at making the practice squad, but we don't know that for sure. So why not take a flyer on a kicker?
Kicker.
People are always going taboo on draft picks and kickers, but I say it's a 7th-round pick, and if you do your homework, and if there's somebody out there with a good enough leg, which there might be, I mean, there's always a kicker that falls through the sieves, and people are always keeping an eye on. I mean, if the 49ers wanted to spend a 3rd-round pick on Jake Moody, what's the problem with spending the 7th-round pick on a kicker where you're probably going to have to replace Nick Folk going forward anyway, with him being on a 1-year deal?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is the last year for Folk, in my opinion. Because I know what I feel like at 33 years old, so I can only imagine what he feels like at 40. So at some point, especially now that the kickers are probably going to have to tackle a little bit more with the new kickoff rule, he's probably going to see himself out sooner rather than later.
Actually, the kicker is exempt from that. They make the kick and then they run off.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
Why did I not know that?
If you listen to Mike Keith on the OTP, they'll go through in depth what you can and can't do on kickoffs now anymore. And I think the one rule is the kicker's exempt. So as soon as the kickoff hits, the kicker's automatically supposed to run off the field. So fun. The more you know, kids.
Yep. That's why we tune in. You're giving us all the information.
But it's something that worked out for both parties. We didn't even feel, weeks ago that Malik Willis was going to have trade value. But somehow Rand Carthon went out and found value in a 7th round pick, and the Packers are able to get a quarterback that could potentially be their backup. So both parties win in this take, but it also sells another narrative. Rand Carthon is going to be aggressive and do whatever he can to try and benefit from picks, whether it's in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th round, 7th round, whatever. And that's what this team needs. We've already seen what they can do with 2 7th round picks this year that have a little bit of buzz with them. We'll just see if they can consistently pan out the way we need them to. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break right here. But when we come back, we've got a lot to talk about. Titans, Saints, interesting game. And of course, we'll give our takes on what we think is going to be the 53-man roster, because I really don't want to do a full show on that. But we'll just do it right here, just because why not? You're here. We're all here. Let's do it. So let's get that break in real quick, and we'll be right back after this.
Roundtable Sports Network brings you NFL divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from your favorite content creators across YouTube, featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings, the AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports, real coverage from real fans.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. The chat is on fire, and I love it because we're getting all these great comments and intake and just takes from everybody. You guys are killing it out there, so keep giving us the comments. And of course, don't forget, guys, if you love the show, help it grow. Follow us on Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, X, and YouTube at the Titan Upload Network, or wherever you find all your great Titan upload content. We be there, and we be putting it out consistently. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and 7 days a week if we can get away with it. But we're going to continue to do that because you guys are worth the effort. So big shout out to Gabriel from Titan Bros. And unfortunately, we're trying to get his brother in, but unfortunately, the weather's got other plans. So glad we got Gabriel at the moment. But Gabriel, thank you for joining us on the show. Want to make sure you give a shout out to the audience and let them know where to find you and your great content at.
Yes, absolutely. The Titan Bros on basically anything you can think of. We're on YouTube. We're on, not on Facebook for some reason. I think that's where the old people are. So maybe we should go there and try to get some of the old senior citizens. But yeah, so we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and on Twitter as well, Twitter X. I'll do that for the remainder of time. Twitter X is what I'll end up calling it probably. But the Titan Bros, we didn't get fancy with the names. It's the Titan Bros on all the accounts. Would love to have you. Would love to have all of y'all. So
hit him up. He's definitely putting out great content for you guys because we love all Titans fans, no matter what. And we want to make sure you got all the sources you have for this upcoming NFL year. Well, guys, Titans Saints was the preseason finale, and there's a lot to break down. So let's not waste any time and jump into it.
Let's do it.
Hitting the next segment right now. So for the first time since 2003, the Tennessee Titans have finished the preseason undefeated. What does that mean? Not a damn thing. But they're undefeated in the preseason. We can take that for what it is because they haven't been undefeated in the preseason since 2003. That's about all I can give you on this. But there's some little takeaways. Like everything in the final week, For some of these guys, it'll be the last time they could ever wear an NFL jersey or step out on an NFL field. For some, it's trying to get a job on the 53-man roster or the practice squad. Regardless, these guys came and they brought it with everything they could, and there was a lot to talk about. So let's get into it, and we'll start with what we loved. So, Gabriel, since you jumped in, I didn't have a lot of time to rework things, and since you're our guest, we're going to let you have the first take. So what you loved the most about Titans Saints yesterday?
I think the thing that I liked the most was the efficiency of our starting offense. Now, obviously, this is somewhat the Saints. It's also the first preseason game as well. But when I was previewing the game, I said, if the starters get 3 drives, I want to see points on 2 of those 3 drives. A touchdown's good. Touchdown field goal is fine. 2 field goals, that's not so good. But as long as we can get a touchdown and a field goal out of the 3 drives, and that's what we got out of the 2 drives, plus the first 2 drives that he did in the first game, touchdowns each time. So the fact that out of 4 drives with Will Levis and the starting offense put up 3 touchdowns and a field goal, it's exciting. We were going against backups. That's obvious. But at the same time, that's what you want us to do against backups, because if we were struggling to score any points, move the ball at all against backups, we'd be having a completely different conversation right now, thinking, is Will Levis the guy? Is Mason Rudolph about to pull a Ryan Tannehill back in 2019, and he's going to end up starting the rest of the season at some point because Will Levis just ain't it? We'd be having those kind of conversations. So the fact that we're actually able to see us just move the ball, look efficient. Will Levis isn't trying to do everything in one play. He's being efficient, just sharp. I liked it. That's probably my favorite thing.
So, Tyler, seems like you both shared the same view for what you loved.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Even though, and yes, I saw Saints fans and everyone else, oh, well, it's against our backups. It's against our back. Okay. Just like he said, that's what you want to see against their backups. You want to see our starting offense go out there, not miss a beat, and get it done and put up points. And that's exactly what they did. They went out there. They were efficient. They moved the ball down the field. They had chunk plays. Like, they were clicking on all cylinders. And that's also, especially in the last preseason game, you want to see your offense, your starting offense, clicking on that level, because it lets you know that they are ramping up and ready for that season opener.
And getting ready for the season opener, as you said, Callie's play calling to me the last 3 games just consistently were strong. The fact that he's able to get the plays and the situations that the Titans put themselves in to win these games late shows just great maturity of a young head coach that has really just kind of been on the cusp waiting for that opportunity. And since last year, when he had the opportunity to become a head coach, but Indianapolis decided to go in a different direction, which benefited us nicely. I just love the fact with each game, he gets more aggressive, he gets more interesting, and just more consistent with what his play calling's been. Now, I get it. Preseason, we're all just trying to figure out what's going on. We're still trying to figure out how everything's going to play out with everybody on there that's a starter. But it's a good way to basically set the premise of what this team's trying to build long term. And as it's brought up by Titan, I think this is the best point. It shows that the players have bought into the scheme and they're coachable. That's the selling point, that they want to win. They want success. The veterans here that have been craving it, and after Vrabel's last couple of years, it's just been stagnant. But let's just be basic. This has been a very vanilla offense. We've seen just a lot of set screens. And I like that case just for the very fact that we're not tipping our hat just yet. There's 17 of these things to be played, so there's no reason to just go out and just blow the whole playbook and then just have nothing to go with. So the fact that the Titans have found themselves in these scenarios and they've worked out through just good play calling, through execution, and for just benefit of the doubt, Callie's had a very successful preseason. And I'm just going to say this, guys. An undefeated preseason does not equal regular season success. Ask the 2008 Detroit Lions. That was the last time they won a game. after that year. So we don't want to go down that road. We don't want it to be the narrative there. But the fact is, it builds confidence. And when you build confidence, these guys believe in each other and they believe in what the mission is. And the mission's clear. This Titans team wants to take it to the next level and potentially do what the Texans did last year. But regardless of what we loved, there's definitely some things we hated. So, Gabriel, we'll go back to you. What did you hate about the game?
I think the thing that I disliked most about the game is our backup pass rushers just don't get after their quarterback. They just don't. I mean, honestly, this is a problem in all three games. As soon as anybody that has any name recognition at all is out of the starting lineup, or Jalen Harrell is out of the starting lineup, the quarterback has all day. And I don't really like that. Now, obviously, we know edge rushing depth is kind of a weakness of our team, but it was on full display on every single game. Well, I think we only had, one sack? Shane Ray. I think he's the one who recorded a sack yesterday. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, it worries me. I hope Arden Key comes back with a vengeance. I hope Harold Landry's ready to go because we're going to need him because the depth is not looking so swell outside Jalen Harrell.
And Tyler, I mean, you did not seem to be a big fan of the reverse.
Yeah, which Gabriel brought up a good point with the backup pass rushers. Thinking back on it, that's definitely something that can be concerning. But when I was first sending this to you, I was trying to really think like, man, what in the game did I really just not like? And to me, the last drive with the starters, that reverse to Jackson, lost 5 yards, put them behind the sticks. Then, I feel like it kind of threw the tempo off a little bit or how the offense was flowing. Now, that being said, if that was called in a regular season game, as bad as I hate to say this, I have no doubt that Will Levis probably lowers his shoulder and blocks like two of the guys that were right there. But I was happy to see him hold back in a preseason game and know, like, hey, probably don't need to take this contact. So, yeah, not that it was just like the worst thing in the world to me. They were still able to get 3 points off of that drive. But, the setting them back 5 yards, making the offense have to work from behind the chains. Just would have liked to have seen them continue on with what they have been doing and put up another touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you, Mitchell. I'm fine with them, trying a couple of things. It just didn't get executed the way it needed to because right at that point, you lost yardage, and it kind of just stifled what was becoming another potential scoring drive. You come out with points, but I mean, at the same time, you get antsy and you're thinking touchdown at that point because the offensive line was just clicking on all 4 cylinders in the last 2 drives before that thing stalled out. And I've got to go with the Campbell injury. And, it's unfortunate. We get the news today. He's going to miss the entire season with an ACL tear. You knew as soon as he slammed his helmet, it probably wasn't going to be good. I mean, Tyler and I, we talked about it on the phone yesterday, and I was just hoping best case scenario, he's going to miss maybe a few weeks. But unfortunately, the Titans linebacker depth just gets severely just tattered at this point. So it's really going to be interesting to see if the Titans make some moves in order to try and fill some of those holes because you've got 2 guys still in a concussion protocol, what with Reese, and I believe Gifford's still on the concussion protocol, but it's thin. So, going with that, I mean, starting with you, Gabriel, and finishing with Tyler, I mean, what should the Titans do at this point with just the lack of depth at this point? Should they try and execute another trade, or should they just try and sit tight and watch the waiver wire?
I would honestly probably sit tight and watch the waiver wire. It's just so weird that we're here because there for a while we had, 7 middle linebackers. I'm like, oh, man, we got so many good linebackers right now. We were actually playing so good in preseason and training camp. We're going to cut some people I don't want us to cut. And now we're to the point to where we need more bodies. We just do. It's insane. You had 2 concussions. We got Garrett Waller with the pec, and then now we got poor Chance. I can't believe it. He's gone again. He has so much potential, but every single year he just battles with injuries. So that might just be part of his game. Unfortunate for him. But yeah, I don't know about trading any picks unless we trade our 7th round pick that we just got from Malik to bring somebody in. But I think we should probably watch the waiver wire. We're picking at 7, so we got a good waiver wire claim positioning. So I would think that would probably be the best idea at this point.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Like, at first I was thinking maybe trade, but then it's like, okay, how high of a pick are you really willing to give up to bring a guy in? And like you said, start off the linebacker depth, it looked pretty good, but now we're down to 4 healthy guys right now. I mean, and you even have a guy like Cedric Gray who, I know both Michael and I were really excited about when the Titans picked him, but now he's dealing with some nerve issues in his shoulder, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen here? Chance Campbell, he's having a great camp, great preseason. Unfortunately, has the ACL injury, out for the year. So, best case scenario right now, sit back, watch the waiver wire. Who knows? Maybe if a team is willing to take a 7th round pick, maybe you can deal that and get another quality depth piece. But starting out, waiver wire is going to be the way to go because there's going to be a lot of guys released between now and 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Some quality guys, so doesn't hurt.
So basically for the next, almost 24 hours, but we'll say it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this plays out for the Titans on the waiver wire and, of course, finalizing the 53. But even with the 53 set, that doesn't mean it's going to be the 53 when they get ready for the first week of prepared practice against the Chicago Bears. Let's just keep that in mind because teams are always looking for guys that could upgrade their roster. So getting to the surprise aspect of the game. So starting once again with you, Gabriel, what surprised you in this matchup with the Saints?
Now, again, I know we were going against a backup defense, but our starting offensive line just dominating. I love to see that. It does my heart so good. I smile laying in bed at night watching that offensive line go to work because of what we've been through with the Dennis Dailies and with the Andre Dillards and even the Jalen Duncan. I hope Jalen Duncan doesn't see the field this year, but it's just been so dreadful, especially on the tackle position. I love seeing Dylan Radins, which now this is my opinion. Maybe it was a hot take, cold take. I don't know what it was, but I liked Dylan Radins better than I liked Sadiq Charles. So when Sadiq Charles retired, I actually liked that. Now, obviously, I hoped he was good. I wished him well. Hope everything's good in his life, but I was happy with the fact that Dylan Radins was now probably going to get that starting role. And if y'all didn't see that, Pro Football Focus had him ranked at like 92 for the game. So he was kicking all kinds of butt. And I just loved watching that O-line just eat. It reminded me of the 2020, 2021 type offensive line. It was nice.
So before we get to you, Tyler, I definitely wanted to bring this up because I think Titan asked a fairly good question. And I don't know if he got the answer, but do you think that the Campbell injury set the tone for the Malik trade to add another linebacker potentially?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's about the best you can sit on that.
Yeah.
That's probably the best you can go with that at this point.
Solid question, though.
Yes. Good question. For me, what surprised me was definitely Thomas O. I mean, with the touchdown saving tackle, the hustle, like, you're talking about a guy who I know I saw the tweet about how much like yardage he had to cover and how far away he was. But, when you're talking about a guy who could potentially be fighting for a roster spot, what a way to put your name, in the coach's mind as far as just making a hustle play, not giving up on it, busting your butt over 100 yards to make a touchdown saving tackle. And I mean, really, the Saints get that touchdown, they probably go on to win the last preseason game. I know, preseason, but you're not talking about the Titans coming away with it. So, yeah, just a hustle play. And I'm going to admit, when Nakua was running that back, I kept watching. I was like, he's really fixing to do this to us. Like, no one's going to catch it. And then last second gets knocked out of bounds, and just the hustle play, wasn't expecting it.
Also, nice hustle by NPF. He was too slow, but that was nice to watch as well. The effort was what counts.
Yep.
Definitely. But let me just say, the tight end depth that the Titans have is just netherworldly at this point. I don't really think I've had an opportunity just to like dig back and think how much just depth and talent at that position the Titans have had at one point, that they're going to have to make some tough decisions on Tuesday. So on my end, David Martin Robinson was just that come out of nowhere guy. I didn't even know who he was when they brought him in. It was just one of those quiet, under the wisp signings, like, yeah, just a camp body. We'll see what he does. Maybe not even we'll see what he does, just a camp body. You just, David Martin Robinson, cool. But the way we've seen him play the last 3 weeks, and you're like, wow, this guy's got something. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the next great tight end. I don't know that. I don't even know if he's going to be any good if they decided to keep him on 53 final set. But there's something that you like, and you know if you put him out there and try and reclaim him for your practice squad, I don't think he'll make it. I think there's at least 6 teams that are looking at David Martin Robinson, especially if you're a guy like Jim Harbaugh and you love tight ends. I'm seeing that as like almost a match made in heaven. So I would almost think it's imperative you get him on the 53.
Yeah, I agree with you. Plus, Josh Wiley's kind of had injury concerns. He had the concussion he's got going on right now, and he missed a lot of time last year with injury as well. So he could see him some playing time during the regular season.
So let's just say, for the argument's sake, do we feel good about a 4 tight end set? So, Gabriel, we'll start with you, and we'll finish with Tyler.
4 tight ends on the active roster. You know, I wish Nick Vannett was just a little worse at blocking, because if he was, we could bring in DMR as our blocking and catching tight end, because DMR can block a little bit too. Definitely better than Chig. But now that we aren't keeping 3 quarterbacks for sure, I think I feel comfortable keeping 4 tight ends. That's just me. DMR can also help out on special teams as well if he needs to. And Nick Vannett, he's kind of struggled a little bit with injuries as well. So we got 2 of our starting 4 tight ends who struggle with injuries a little bit. I would be okay with us keeping 4. I'm down with that.
And I'm right there with you. I mean, it definitely a lot of the same opinions here, but since we're not keeping 3 quarterbacks, and especially given Josh Wiley dealing with the concussion, had injuries last year, I feel like the smart move would be keeping 4 tight ends and having some options there.
And Mitchell makes a good point right here. I know we weren't going to see much of Twig in the preseason, but the guys getting the reps right now are really just getting some attention. And Chig knows this could be a make or break year for him. So he's got to come out and shine, especially being the pass catching tight end. So just as a preview, guys, I mean, what numbers would you give Chig this year that would basically get him just to next year on a next year commitment, basically? So let's start with you, Gabriel.
I would say he would need over 450, because that's basically what he's had the last 2 years put together, 450 yards. And I'd like to see him see the end zone every now and again. But here's something I thought of when Tyler Boyd got signed. I think Tyler Boyd actually is really going to eat away at Chig's usage, because Chig, he can kick out wide in the slot, And that's where Tyler Boyd's going to be all the time. So Chig might not get as many opportunities as we might think he does. Now, maybe he will. Maybe he gets plenty of playing time. But I think he's going to – if he does get playing time, he can't be having those drops like he had at the beginning of last year. He's got to get out there and show he deserves to be out there. And I would say he has to have at least 500 yards, show some improvement in year 3.
Tyler, what do you say?
I felt like 500 was that's kind of that benchmark there. If he can hit 500 yards and throw in, roughly 3 touchdowns, like Lee said, I think that's the magic number to, let him stay around for next year. And I would consider it a successful season for him.
Works on my end. Shout out to Lee Hillis of the 615 podcast. He's going 4 tight ends as well. So Van Ette as well. But I definitely see Van Ette just more as a blocking tight end. He can catch, but I think he's just more serviceable as just an extra body on the offensive line. But of course, getting to our players of the game, Gabriel, who impressed you the most on the final game of the preseason?
Malik Willis. That's insane. I mean, that's the best quarterback play we've seen out of Malik Willis. Used his arm and his legs. He threw 2 touchdowns. His last throw as a Tennessee Titan was a touchdown. He played as good as I've ever seen him play. And that play that he threw that last touchdown, the offensive line blocked well, and he never dropped his eyes and tried to run. Malik of the past, he would have tried to run that in, but he stayed there. He stayed calm, was decisive, and he just zipped that ball right in there. Perfect placement. So it feels weird talking about the Packers' backup quarterback, but he was my player of the game.
I've been sitting here thinking that the whole time, like, I put Malik as the player of the game, and now he's the Packers' backup. Like, he's done been traded away. But, I mean, that just shows why he was the player of the game, because obviously he played well enough that the Packers saw some value in him. And I actually had a buddy that was at the game, and when Malik come in, Saints fans around him were like, oh man, this guy can't throw, definitely like put the pressure on him to make plays with his arm. And Malik went out there, answered the call, 3 of 4, like got a hit on that first touchdown pass, because just, I mean, a beauty of a ball. Placement was great. And so you got that. Then the pressure's on for winning the game. And Gabriel, you said it best. The offensive line was blocking well. And usually in moments like that in the past, Malik's eyes would not have been downfield. As soon as he took the snap, his mind would have been on, I'm taking off and running with this ball. Like he wouldn't have trusted his arm. But he sat there composed in the pocket, moved around just slightly, and delivered a strike to get the go-ahead touchdown. Like, talk about calm under the pressure there, making plays, showing how you've improved. I mean, Malik, to me, player of the game.
Miss him already.
I feel bad for those people that bought the Malik Willis jersey. But I think you can trade us in if you got the receipt. My guy, Bryce Oliver, what can I say? 3 catches, 52 yards, 2 tutties. I see a spot for him on the practice squad for sure. If this was like 2 years ago or just the previous 2 teams, Bryce Oliver definitely would have made this roster, because I definitely like the work there. I like he's put himself out there and just really shined the last 2 games even. So Bryce Oliver came out, played his heart out. And, of course, he gets the clip of the night from our good friend Teron Davenport, as he basically discussed the game in general.
Definitely. First of all, I want to thank God for this opportunity for sure. And, it's the last one, so you got to, the coach emphasized this week, just to finish, what I'm saying, leaving it all out there. A lot of the older guys talked to me for the game, like Nick Westbrook, told me just to leave it all on the field, and that's what I did.
We talked before about that connection with Malik. It showed today. What is it about that?
I mean, like I iterated before to you, I tell Malik all throughout the week, man, just like, if I'm in there, I got you, man, I'm going to make the play. I think he's embodied that. You know, he trusts me and it's shown.
That ability to show the late hands on that first touchdown, is that something that you work on? It comes naturally? How did you get to that point?
No, that's actually something that I work on during the offseason. I haven't, I mean, it's kind of like I play receiver, so it's kind of like natural, but it's something you have to I work on too throughout the offseason and stuff.
Yeah, I asked that because not all receivers, like, it's literally like the last second you put your hands out there, not all receivers.
Yeah, it's definitely a reaction for sure. I think I remember, like, DB actually had, like, his hand on the ball. I was just trying so hard, like, to not let it go, so. Yeah.
So that from the star wide receiver. Of course, we've got a slew of guys that were cut today, 9 players, including Ty Zettner, the punter. So it seems that Rhinestone is going to be locked in as the punter for this year. Praise and shout out to the trainers for getting him ready for that as well, because the fact that he had multiple breaks in his leg and is now back punting is something phenomenal, and that staff deserves definitely just our respect and a round of applause. But we know that it's going to be an interesting take how this is going to play out with the cuts. And I think that's going to be our next point going to this break. When we come back, as we close out the show, we're going to talk about one player we think is basically a lock to be cut from this team. So take a quick break right now, and we will come back and close up shop. So don't go anywhere.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. You guys have once again just come out, killed it in the comments. You've given such great insight, given great thoughts, and we appreciate everything that you've done. It has been a packed house. Like, literally in the chat, I have been scrolling through comments. You have killed it tonight. So once again, before we get out of here, round of applause to you guys for everything that you do for the network and all of us. So thank you so much. And of course, before we go, guys, don't forget, sharing is caring. Whether it's your Titans friends or your NFL friends, share the show out, because that's how we get the algorithm going. When we get out there and show what we got, then we got an opportunity to continue to put out great content for you guys, whether it's myself, whether it's Rossi, whether it's Upload. The Titan Upload Network is here to give you the best NFL coverage and Tennessee Titan coverage that we can possibly give you. So without you and without your support, we're not able to do this. So once again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. And of course, a special thanks to Gabriel from Titan Bros. Unfortunately, we couldn't get all the bros in because the weather didn't want to allow it. But we appreciate you joining us on the show, and we wanted to make sure you give a shout out to everybody out in the chat and let them know where to find you and your great content at.
Yeah, first of all, obviously, I do appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed myself. Immensely. And one more time, you can find us on everywhere besides Facebook for whatever reason on the Titan Bros. And yeah, it'll be nice to talk on my channel, on my X page. I need to learn how to grow an X page because I have a bad habit of saying that I'll start tweeting once I get a following, but I think it's the other way around. I think you're supposed to start tweeting and then that gets you a following, but oh well. Maybe I can get a couple followers and I'll start tweeting a little bit.
Well, regardless, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to please us. It's all good. As long as they can find you, it's all good. So I don't know why I can't find my slide, so we'll just go ahead and just hit closing time right now. But so let's get into this way. We have one cut that we each can make. So Gabriel, you being the guest, we'll let you take your pick. Who is an automatic lock for getting cut from the Titans?
I would like to say Jalen Duncan, but I have a bad feeling he might just make this roster because I think he's been just awful. I know it's maybe too early to give up on him. I'm going to have to say Kyle Phillips. My guy, Kyle Phillips, his body fails him. He can't stay healthy. I think he's done.
Lee giving a surprise cut with NWI. I'm kind of shocked on that one. Well, I guess you got to go bold or go home. So good on you, Lee. Tyler, who do you got?
I'm going to say Rashad Weaver. I really haven't been impressed with him in the preseason games in the time that he's got. I know from yesterday's game, there's a clip of Trevor Penning just, absolutely demolishing him. And I think, Jalen Harrell, with his emergence in camp in the preseason, I think he's done enough to earn the backup role behind Arden Key or Harold Landry, whichever side they want to put him on. And then you have Shane Ray, who made some plays. You still have Caleb Murphy there. I think Rashad Weaver could potentially see free agency there.
I agree. He was good in his second year. He flashed a little bit in his second year, but he has not done anything since then.
Interesting takes on both of y'all. So I'll finish mine out, and it's really the most obvious one, and it's an unfortunate one that I have to say, but the best ability is availability, and Caleb Farley just hasn't been available for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm glad he had a chance to go to camp. I'm glad he had an opportunity to try and show what he could do. Unfortunately, hamstring issue kind of cut short what was really being a good camp for him, from what we heard from our good friend Teron Davenport at ESPN. But that's the breaks. You basically get drafted as a first-round pick. You've got to live up to that status. And, regardless of everything that's happened to him in his life, and it's unfortunate, the business aspect always comes into play when you need the player to be there and do the job you need him to do. It's unfortunate. So, whatever Caleb Farley does after his football career, hopefully it's successful. We would love to continue to have him around the organization. Not every NFL career that ends up being a failure doesn't mean that you're a failure in life. It's just you had an opportunity that didn't work out, but you still have the rest of your life, and you could find something that you could fall into. There's an immense array of things. You just hope whatever success he looks for going forward in life, that it works out on a different level. So, Caleb Farley, I'm sorry it didn't work out. We appreciate everything that you did. I hope everything just turns a corner for you. But as we say, it's a business. And unfortunately, these are the business decisions you have to make going forward. So before we close it up, one more round. Let's go ahead and hit one player that will shockingly make the roster. Gabriel, we'll give you the floor.
One shocking player that will make the roster. Well, if I would have said DMR 3 weeks ago, I think that would have been it. But I don't think that's going to be too shocking now. I'm going to say a shocking player to make the roster. I'm going to say Hassan Haskins. I have a feeling they're going to end up just making him just be, it says running back, but I think he's just a special teams ace. And that's what he'll be. Chestnut will win the number 3 running back role. And then Hassan Haskins is just a special teams ace. Agreed, Titan.
Tyler, you're up next.
Yeah, Haskins is the guy that comes to mind. I'm going to go with Gabe Judy Lawley, though. I feel like he had some moments in camp where he looked good. He's also, had some moments where he got beat, but and maybe this is just me wanting a breath of fresh air. I want Trey Avery gone off this team. Just give me some other cornerback to take his spot. And so I'm gonna go with Gabe Judy Lawley.
Let's go get Valentino Blake. He can't do much worse than Trey Avery, can he?
Lesser of two evils is the lesser of two evils. Right now, I know he's under protocol for concussion, but I would have to say Otis Reese makes his team, and it's just because of the lack of linebacker. I don't think he had a spectacular camp, but it was a decent camp. But I think, with the lack of depth there, I think eventually you're probably going to see Cedric Gray probably be put on the IR for the year. And that's already been brought up once again by Teron Davenport. And I think that that's probably the best option going forward for the Titans, especially if he's dealing with a nerve issue in his arms. We don't know the severity of it, but I do see some potential additions from the waiver wire from the linebacker position. They could add another offensive lineman from the waiver wire. I think you're going to see a lot of moving and shaking in the next couple of days. And as I said, the roster's not going to be official until week 1. So be prepared to see some interesting moves for the Tennessee Titans in 2024. So regardless, I do think this team is trending in the right direction. I think you have to give a hand to the coaching staff. You have to give a hand to the recruiting staff. And, of course, the guys up in the top of the office making this possible. Rand Carthon and his crew are embracing analytics. And so far we've seen, it's got a chance. But, of course, I'm not going to get into predictions. That's another show. That's why we got to keep you coming back here. So I'm not going to just throw everything out for y'all. You're going to have to come back next Monday and just listen to the talk. But, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Power Hour tonight. You've been phenomenal. The comments have been phenomenal. You have killed it once again. This is another successful show. So one more time before we get out of here, round of applause to you guys. Unfortunately, as I said, we couldn't get all the bros in, but that's all good. So, Gabriel, before we get out of here, one more shout out to the fans. Let them know where to find all your great content at.
The Titan Bros on YouTube, on Twitter /X, on Instagram, on basically anywhere but Facebook. Maybe one day I'll be on Facebook. But yeah, the Titan Bros, love to have you. It'd be great.
And we'll get to the few comments before we get out of here. Everybody's just killing it. So Lou's definitely supporting Farley on this one. He's saying he's staying. Titan gave us a thumbs up. Lee says Shaquan Jackson to make the team. Winky face. Maybe it's sarcasm. Malik could be the most improved player of preseason. I mean, it works out for the Packers if that's the case. So Lee says, I truly believe Mason Kinsey makes the roster because this offense is built for a receiver like 12. Go look at the Seattle game. It took 4 defenders to bring him down. No, I don't disagree with that. It's just the finger injury. How severe is it? Mm-hmm. We haven't heard anything about it. And I'll give Callie the benefit of the doubt. He's been honest with a lot of these injuries, but I don't think it's anything devastating at this point, but we're really going to find out within the next 24 hours if it was. Defensive end from Weaver getting pancaked from second and third string is unacceptable. Lou says Malik Randall Cunningham Willis is a cheesehead. He says, I'm glad we won't be hearing anything about Malik anymore. Eyeballs, smiley face, blue smiley. Tighten up, Titan Nation. Tighten up to you, buddy, as well. I like that. Good luck, Malik. Have a good night, Lou. So I guess that'll do it with the comments. All right, guys. We'll see you next Monday when we give our annual NFL prediction show. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. We're going to bring out all our takes and give you our take what the Tennessee Titans are going to do in 2024. So special thanks again to Gabriel from Titans Bros. Good having Tyler back as well. Get you some sleep. You look tired.
Trying. I'm trying.
Just, if you got to sleep on the toilet, you just sleep on the toilet. I understand. All right, guys, that'll do it from us. Thanks for joining us once again. We will see you next Monday. I'm Michael Bishop for the Power Hour. And as always, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
You're watching the Titan Upload Network.